So I tried to find a video about this before. Found one that wasn't that good. So I thought I'll make my own. So I've had this Umnumzaan for a little over a month now. It's the real deal. Didn't pay full price for it. I got it used on Knife Swap for $3.75. It is a different finish on it. I don't know if it's the glass blasted. I'm not sure, but it's a lot brighter than the ones that I normally see as far as the handle scales. It's clean. Actually, I like it. It doesn't show use that well. It's very nice. But it took me a while to get used to the action of this because it's my first Chris Reeve. And to get it to flip like that, it's been kind of a long time coming. As you can see, it's still not great. But it's a lot better than when I first got it, that's for sure. So anyway, so I had that for a while. I figured, I wonder what the clones are like. So I got this in today. And this is the Jufule brand off of AliExpress. Came with this little leather job. Also came with this thing. I don't know if the original one came with this. The one that I got didn't actually have the original box or anything. Apparently it had been modded. I don't know if the finish on it is even original to Chris Reeve or if they vapor honed it. I don't know. So I don't know if this kind of stuff comes with the normal Chris Reeve. It's just a data sheet for steel, I guess, for which in the case of this clone is supposed to be S35 VN. Kind of interesting. And it came with a fake authenticity card. Obviously fake, a large Sabenza. This is not a Sabenza. 35 VM, blah, blah, blah. 2013 date of birth. I don't know, whatever. Kind of interesting. This thing says Sabenza on it as well. And Manandi. So, cool, whatever. It's a clone. I got it as a clone. I got it for the clone. And this is what it looks like. Obviously the finish is a little darker. Kind of hard to tell with this camera. It's definitely rougher to the touch, but this I think looks more like the normal glass blasted ones that I've seen on the swap. This one still has the lanyard on it, of course, which I've taken that off and actually got the additional hardware from Chris Reeve to delete that. But as far as fit and finish, I don't know if you can see it. It's hard to see on this with this camera, but there is, yeah, you can kind of see a rough spot right here where it almost looks like they, I don't know, something with the pivot. Looks like it gouged it a little bit. And the hardware is totally different. Whereas these are on the original are, oh, it looks like they're Allens on both of them, except for, well, actually, it doesn't, I can't tell for sure. It could be Starbits Torx on this one. Of course, it's always the last one you try. Yeah, they're Torx. Okay, so that's a little different. And they don't look nearly as good either, obviously, being a cheaper product. The hardware is definitely one of the first things they skimp on. Yeah, it looks like they're both Starbits. There it is. But yeah. So the action on this one is actually pretty good, considering I just got it. I haven't even played with it, really. Opened it a few times. This I got in the drop point version compared to the Tonto, just because so I could have one of each, I suppose. I will say, as far as thickness, size, oh, you can see there, well, I can see anyway, the standoffs, quite a bit different. See, this one's almost, on the clone, it's almost squared off. It's not in person, but it looks it in the camera. Pocket clips are pretty similar. You can see the bends are a little different in the original. It's got that extra bend on the tip. Placement's different. Again, the hardware is much cheaper looking and very hardware store-esque on the clone. You can see the pivot too on this one. I mean, I don't know if you can. This camera's trash. This one's a lot more basic. Blade finish, I would say the stonewash is a lot more obvious on the clone. Which I don't know how I feel about that. You can also kind of see the machine marks in there a little bit. But pretty close. It looks like the blade stock is actually thicker on the clone. We can look at that right now. We're at metric, 0. We're at 3.6 on the clone. Yeah, much different. We're at 3.4 on the actual one. Interesting. Handle thickness, as far as the scales, go where there's not a cutout. 3.6 on the original. Well, they're a little thicker on the clone as well. Not by as much though. Looks like 3.7, 3.8 on the clone. Okay. Overall width, let's do it across the pivot. It's like we're at 14.2 on the clone. Oh wow, the pivot's a lot wider on the original. But not the knife itself. 14.5, 14.6 on the original. So width with just the handles, without the pivot, we're at 11.7 on the original. 12.6 on the clone. Okay. Width on the thumb stud. Looks like we're about 14.2 on the clone. And 13.7 on the original. I don't know if this guy will open all the way to overall. Yeah, it's a little off for that. One of the other major differences I can tell right off the bat is the Chris Reeve symbol that's on the over travel stop. On the original, it's milled. Looks nice. This one is just some kind of screen printing. It looks like trash. Of course, the Idaho made text is different. Original clone. The Chris Reeve symbol itself on the front on the original is smaller, a little softer in the machining. It is machined on the clone. It's larger and sharper machine lines. And the handle machine lines actually look really similar. The chamfering on both are the same. Looks like the little thumb press divot is smaller on the original. It's a little longer on the clone. Oh, and the other big difference I noticed too is the jimping. Jimping on the original is much finer than the clone. They both feel pretty good though, but I would have to give the edge to the OG. But honestly, for 50 bucks, you know, you're talking 50 bucks for this thing. The action is better as far as simplicity and just smoothness, just because it's on bearings. This one feels better. You can hear it even. Well, it sounded good there. Just sounds cheaper. This one sounds cheaper, which is good. I mean, you'd hope for some differences. The fact that the blade stock is thicker is kind of interesting to me. Obviously, this being Magna Cut, this being Lord knows what, VG10. I don't remember what it was when I ordered it. I might be able to pull it up. But so far, like just with playing with it, it's definitely nice. I mean, this is something that I would carry. I gotta say, one of the biggest things that I don't like about it, which isn't even doesn't even count, is the fact that the finish is rougher. I like the finish on the OG better, but again, I don't think my finish is even stock. But I like the smooth finish. This one almost feels kind of sandpapery, which I know is by design, and you can get it like that on these stock ones as well. Yeah, this was 50 bucks from Jufule. It actually only took me a couple weeks to get it, which is surprising. I wasn't expecting it till January. This says, what the hell? S35VN, huh? So it claims to be actual S35VN. It doesn't mean it is, but it's not exactly a super steel, but it's like it's a good steel. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I wish the original was on washers, or not washers. I don't know if I wish the original was on bearings. I've polished the washers on this multiple times just to help with the break-in. I feel like they kind of need a repolishing every other week or so just to kind of try and keep it that smooth feeling. In fact, I just did it last night. Also re-oiled it. But yeah, I think this one does feel cheaper. You can feel the lockbar tension is much lighter. Which actually is one of the things I don't like about this. The lockbar tension on this is extreme. But the lock up is pretty similar. I would even say, if I look at it in person, it's earlier on the clone. It's absolutely earlier in the clone. But yeah, I say we take them apart. So let's do that right now. I'm gonna start by taking off the pocket clip. Just makes it easier for me. And this is definitely a star bit. Yeah, it even looks like the hardware looks totally different. So again, I just got this thing. I haven't taken it apart yet. I kind of wanted to take it apart anyways, just to clean the pivot, because the pivot feels like it's got some crap in there. I just did this one last night. Let's see some oil on there. Couple of light wear marks on the original. Nothing crazy though. Cutout looks the same. A little bit of oil in this one. In the clone. I will say I have the original lanyard deal for the OG one, and the finish is, again, as you'd expect, all the hardware on the OG one is so much better, such a nicer finish. But you can see even without, you can see the difference. This one's just shinier. This is the OG one, obviously, and this is the clone one. It's like a flat, I don't know. You can even see the machining. This thing is just pressed, you can tell. This one's nicely machined. Little stuff like that. As far as being worth literally 10, or costing literally 10 times the price, yeah, I don't know if it's worth that much. But there are differences. Okay, so we're going to take these off. Again, when you get this one, when I got this one originally, it also had the same thing as this. This is the lanyard tail for that one. But I don't like lanyards. I decided instead of just having a hole in my handle, I would go ahead and get the actual hardware. Well, there you can tell another difference too, is the length of the screw. They're totally different screws, in fact. That one's just a regular button head, flat. This one's a countersunk. Different thread pitch, so you couldn't even move these around if you wanted to. Okay, and then this one's going to be a different Torx. Ooh, she's stiff. It's not captive, so I'm going to have to hold the other side. See if I got another size like that big. Yeah, there it is right there. This sucker apart, hopefully. There it goes. Definitely Loctited, which is good. Whole thing's already coming apart. Look at that. Okay. It looks like they might have used. I don't know. It almost looks like red Loctite. Let's tip you down a little more over here. Alright, and get the other Allen off on this guy. I was able to hold the other side. It was turning though, because it's not captive on the Chris Reeve either. Also, something I will mention about this Chris Reeve is I polished the heads on all of the hardware on the OG, so it's a little shinier all around than a lot of the ones that I've seen. Alright, and here we go. And we can see the oil, grease is still on this. I'm not going to clean it because I just did last night. See the washer there. And these are the spacers and pins for the handle. Just take that off so you can see the other side. You can see where the washer started polishing on the blade side. Detent ball. Yeah, okay. So that's the OG. Get some kind of order to this crap. Like that. That's the other side of the pivot. Okay, so now the clone already really apart. Okay, and there you can already see the first major difference is the pocketing in the handle. It is oiled. The Loctite is almost looks white. Looks like there is a washer in here as well, which is a good thing because you don't want steel and titanium. There's definitely a washer in there. I don't know if I want to pull that out. I'm just going to leave it in there. I can see right there there's a line. So there's a steel washer put between the bearing and the handle. And this spacer here on this one is one piece. So you got it's just a barrel spacer, whereas the Chris Reeve is 2 pieces. You have the pin and then the spacer itself. Which, yeah, I don't really know what I prefer. I think I actually prefer the one-piece one. It just makes it slightly easier to disassemble. Okay, that just popped off. And there's our supposed ceramic dual layer bearing. Also pocketed on the blade. It is dirty, you can see, well, I can see all the grit. It's accumulated on this thing already. Well, from the factory, you can't really see it. There's some dirt in there, which is why I was going to take this thing apart anyway. So, wipe the fucker down. And get me some Q-tip action. As far as sharpness of this, I mean, honestly haven't even messed with the sharpness yet. Oh, it's actually pretty nice. It's got a good edge on it. Feels pretty good. Grind line looks pretty even. It gets a little wider down here. Maybe a little wider towards the end, towards the belly. And this side's definitely smaller all the way across. In fact, it even gets narrower at the belly on this one, on this side. But by eye, it almost looks like they actually did. There's a scratch in this fucker too. See if I can catch it in the camera. Yeah, see it right there. It almost feels like they actually stropped this. I can kind of see a little line of what almost looks like polish on there. Damn, that's a dirty pivot. Get a little oil in there to see if I can't scrub this sucker a little bit. Or it might even be rust. Yeah, I think it is. It is rust. Huh, that's interesting. Shouldn't be rust on S35VN. Yeah, I can't tell, but I think that is rust. You can kind of see it down there, a little bit of brown. Oh, and this is interesting, of course, on the... First of all, you can see a bunch of marks on the inside. And there's the screw for the over travel stop on the clone, which honestly I wish the Chris Reeve one had, so I could adjust that tension. Huh. There's some things I like about this clone more than the OG, which I had a feeling I was going to. The bearings alone, I do like that. I don't know if I would want the OG to have bearings, but just a break-in period, especially for mine, has been a real pain in the ass. It's kind of annoying. People say you're not supposed to have a flippable Chris Reeve, but I think the Umnumzaan is supposed to be a little different compared to the Sebenzas, because in fact they say you're really not supposed to flip the Sebenzas because the stop pins can get messed up, which to me is just silly. It's one of the reasons I still haven't got me a Sebenza. I still might just to have one, but and a lot of Loctite on this. Just wonder if you could see that mark any better now that the pivot's gone. Right there, you can see it shining a little bit because of the shitty camera. But okay, so yeah, not as dirty as I was expecting, honestly. This side actually looks pretty good, pretty clean. So yeah, we're gonna put it back together now, because there's nothing to see here, folks. Put a little lube inside pivot point of the blade. I'm gonna put another daub. bearing as well. Pivot is much smaller than the clone as far as diameter. Inner diameter anyway. I just oiled the shit out of that fucking thing. And I think I'm going to go ahead and leave the lanyard off. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to leave it off of this. I don't want the fucking lanyard. It's just going to be a hole in this one though. Alright. And push that back together. You can see, look at the difference in the pivot, geez. That is impressively different. That clone, look at that is just no strength in that puppy. The original Chris Reeve pivot, I do like that about these, is beefy motherfucker. Okay. And that didn't feel like it locked down at all. Oh wow, that feels a lot better. Even just that little tiny bit of cleaning. It's really smooth. Pretty damn good for a clone, I should say. I mean, it's... I was reading some good things about the clones that Jufule makes for the Rosies. And I was really thinking about getting one. But I just hate how those damn Rosies look. They look kind of... And they're very small knives. So I figured, oh, I'll get a Jufule brand clone of a knife that I actually like. And I really like this Umnumzaan that I got. So I thought, fuck it. $50. 50 bucks is enough to check them out. Not too expensive. Jesus, that feels so much better. Impressively better. Really hate how that damn hole in the handle looks, though. I might just cut the damn lanyard off of this fucker. Just to leave that joint. I guess I could actually untie it. Since I will never be using it, I'm not buying additional hardware for a freaking clone, so besides that, it wouldn't fit anyways if I bought it from Chris Reeve. Alright. That's one thing that I will say about the finish too, that finish that I got on mine, which apparently somebody on the forums said it was one of their other finishes that they offer. But when I bought it, the guy said it had been, I don't remember what the hell it was. Vapor honed, that's what it was. That's what he said in his post anyways. And if that's the case, whoever did it did a good job, because that finish on that Chris Reeve that I have is really, it feels like it's really hard to scratch. Whereas this clone, which of course the surface finish is not as good as probably the actual Chris Reeve finish would be, but it just feels like if I just dragged this across, I'd be leaving a line. And judging by a lot of the Umnumzaans that come this color from Chris Reeve, on the used market, they do scratch up pretty easily. Yeah, it looks much better without that damn hole in the handle. God, I gotta say, that thing feels really good. I don't know if I want to say it, but I think the clone feels better than, as far as the action. Well, I shouldn't say that. The ease of use of the action anyways. Just feels really good with those bearings. This almost feels like the spring tension is too loose on this though. I feel like I need a little drop on that. Detent ball. There we go. There we go. quick cleaning. That's pretty damn good for just a quick wipe down for that clone. Put this guy back. Gotta be real careful with this, because I do not want to gouge that. I already had to buff the pivot collar once because I gouged it. I could feel it in the action. That was one thing I wanted to point out too while I had this open. I'm just going to grab you and show you, is if you look here, that's the attachment for the over travel stop, and it is not a screw, it's just a pin. And that's the date marking A22, so first quarter of 2022 this one was made. It's as close as I can get, because I do not have the original packaging with it. All right. All this stuff. I will say I really like how it turned out when I polished the heads of this hardware. It really makes it look nice. May end up doing the same thing with this clone, honestly. Okay. Come off. I've had so much problem tuning this damn thing. Not problem, but it is really picky. And that feels too tight. Okay, it feels pretty good. Centering, it's all right. That's another thing I'll say about the clone too, is the centering. It's actually really good. It looks to be dead nuts. Yeah, looks pretty damn close. Whoa, careful, boy. Just cut your damn self. In fact, yeah, it's dead nuts on both. So yeah, long story short, you don't feel like dropping. I mean, I only spent $375 on this only. Plus, well, I bought new washers first of all. That was $12. No, those were free. Those were free on this. This here was $12 for that little screw and barrel. And I bought, Jesus Christ, 2 other pocket clips for this thing, which I don't like either of them. I honestly like the factory clip the most. Oh, I put them, whatever. But I got one of these guys from AliExpress, and I've been using that one recently. I think it looks nice. I had to buff the, I polished the finish off of it because it looked a lot like this one, the clone. I had the same finish, that darker finish. So I just took some sandpaper, 400 grit, and just sanded it off of there. Now it kind of matches the other hardware. But I honestly prefer this OG clip. The other one I have in here is this deep carry job that is just hideous, this thing. It looks really dumb on there. I don't like it. It fits it matches the finish pretty good though, I will say. But my favorite one for sure is the OG clip. And that's one thing I plan on doing now that I see it, with the clone. So I'm gonna grind that damn stupid glass breaker off of there. I think that's such a stupid design choice that they put on these. I'm gonna get it for functionality, I guess, but you got this. Where the stop pin hits, that's gonna break glass just as quickly as this is going to. I get it's titanium, it's not hardened steel. Of course, this being magna cut, it's what, 62 HRC. So it's much harder than the titanium, but I don't need a freaking glass breaker. Stop putting glass breakers on things. This is one of the better executions of one, I suppose, but it's one thing that really takes from the look. So I'm gonna try grinding that off on the clone just to see how much more I like it. I will say the edge on that clone is surprisingly good. It's not as good as this one, but it's because I put a fresh edge on it. But it's close. Honestly, it's close. So I feel like it was definitely stropped. So yeah, that's my video comparing the Jufule clone, Umnumzaan drop point, to factory, albeit used, Chris Reeve Umnumzaan Tonto. And hopefully a couple of you out there find this video useful, because this is the kind of video I was looking for. Got some of the thicknesses in there at the beginning of the video, which I know one of the other guys I was watching was missing that part because he didn't have an actual one. Just looking at that pocket clip, a little different, the bends. Huh. I will say, if I bought this clone, I like this clone's feel. I like the feel of this clone so much that I would have ended up buying the actual one anyways, just because this knife just fits me perfectly. I love the look. It's my favorite looking knife that I have, and I have a lot of them. I love the feel of it. I love just everything about this knife, which is why I bought one. This one feels close enough to where if I got this, I'd be like, you know what? I really want to feel what the real one's like, aside from going to try one somewhere, which there's not a lot of places you can do that. But I will say, now that I've had both, you really want to spend the money on the actual Chris Reeve, or you want one of these Umnumzaans and you want to beat the shit out of it, buy you one of these Jufule ones. They're nice. I like this thing. Well worth the 50 bucks. .141.0 original. 145.5 clone.